All right, so this video is to go over the box plot warm-up. So this is on pink page 67. So last class we talked about all the pieces and parts that you would need to find or to create a box plot. So there's 5 pieces of information that you need to have to make a box plot. So first is your minimum, your lowest number. So our lowest number here would be 18. So that's our minimum. Our maximum is our highest number, which would be 145. And then our median, to find our median, we would need to put these numbers in order. Remember, it's the middle number when our numbers are in order. So if I put my numbers in order, it would be 18, then 44, then 47, then 55, then 61, 62, 78, 79, 83, and 145. All right, so we put our numbers in order, so then our median is just our middle number. So if I cross out one from each side, I get 2 numbers in the middle. So remember, we find when we have 2 numbers in the middle, to find our median, we would add these up and divide by 2. So 61 plus 62 would give me 123. Divided by 2 would give me 61.5, which makes sense, right? Right in the middle of those 2 numbers would be 61.5. So then our Q1 and our Q3 come from, right? 61.5 was right here. It splits our data into two halves. And so Q1 and Q3 come from finding the middle of each half. So for instance, if I look at the first half, my middle number would be 47. Right? If I cross off 1, 2, 1, 2, my middle number of this half is 47. And then same thing, if I go to this half, my middle number is 79. So my Q3 would be 79. We can also find all of this on our calculator. So we talked about how we can use our calculator last class. If we put all of our information, if we hit if we hit stat and then edit, we're going to type all of our numbers into list 1. It doesn't matter the order that we type them in. We're just going to type them all in. So 79, 47, 55, 83, 145, 44, 61, 18, 78, and 62. So we typed in all 10 numbers. So if we want to find this kind of information, we can then hit stat, go over to calc, and this one variable stats, can tell us everything we need to know from all of those data pieces in list 1. So it actually tells us mean, standard deviation, but you can see your min here is 18, your Q1 is 45, your median is 61.5, your Q3 is 79, and your max is 145. So your calculator can find those 5 pieces of information for us as well. So we just hit stat, edit, type everything into the list, then stat, go over to calc, and use that first one var stats to tell us all the information. Okay, so then our IQR, remember, is your interquartile range. So it's just the range from Q3 to Q1. So you just take Q3 and subtract Q1. So 79 minus 47 would give me 32. So my interquartile range is 32. Okay, so when we make our box plot, we have to have some sort of timeline or number line so that our information is accurate, or the size of our box plot is accurate. So my lowest number is 18, so I'll start at 10, and I got to get all the way to 145. So I'm going to count by tens, but I just want to scale it, right? I'm going to try to make these as close distance, the same distance apart as possible. 80. That way, when I'm graphing, it's an accurate representation of the distance between each of the values. And And that should do it. Okay. So then we have our minimum at 18, so that'd be pretty close to 20 is where that starts. And then our maximum is 145. And then we make the box between Q1 and Q3. So between 47 and 79 would be our box, because this is Q1 and Q3. And then these are just our lines. And then our median, which is 61.5, is what we draw in the middle. So this is our min, this is our max, Q1, median, Q3. And then all we need is a title. So this is minutes per day she runs. So minutes, you could write minutes spent running as our title. All right. So then the last piece is there's an equation we can use to check for outliers, or two equations that we can use. And this tells us if there's any extremes on the lower end or the upper end. So to do that, you're going to take Q3 and add it to 1.5 times your interquartile range. And then take Q1 and subtract it from 1.5 times your interquartile range. So my Q3 was 79 plus 1.5 times 32. And then my Q1 was 47 plus 1.5 times 32. So we use this one to find if there's any numbers that are too big, and then this one to find if there's any numbers too small. So when I calculate those, 79 plus 1.5 times 32, I get 127. And then if I do 47 minus 1.5, oh, I'm so sorry, this should have been a minus. Minus 1.5 times 32, I get -1. So if the numbers between -1 and 127, that's very poorly written. Numbers between -1 and 127 are considered usual values. Anything outside of that, we would count as an outlier. So in our case, we do have an outlier of 145. That does not, every other number fits within this range except for 145. So 145 would be our outlier. All right, hopefully that was a good review of box plots before we move on.